Hello, I'm Raquel and welcome to Kanuka Home Practice. Today we are going to be exploring finding space along the neck so that we can move into shoulder stands safely. You may like to use a block if you've got one at home. If not, you can just skip out on that bit of our practice today. And if you have any neck injuries, I recommend moving very, very gently, or maybe trying a little bit more of a strength-based core practice before you move into this decompression of the neck. Oftentimes, a shoulder stand will follow a practice focused on heart openers. So that's another practice that you may like to do before moving into shoulder stand. All right, well, we'll get started. Bring your block with you, and I'll see you in just a moment. So let's begin with some gentle neck rolls. Maybe on your next exhale, you draw the chin towards the chest. And hold here for a moment, allowing the spine to align and allowing the breath to create a little bit more of an opening through the back of the neck. And when you're ready, drawing the chin up towards the ceiling, being gentle. No need to go to your end range, but bringing the base of the skull down towards the back of the shoulders, feeling a stretch along the front of the throat. And looking forward, draw your ear down towards the shoulder. Here we find an opening along the side of the neck. And make sure to do the other side. And you can move the shoulder downward to create a little bit more of an intense stretch here. And return back to center. Bring the chin to point down onto the shoulder. And then trace the chin across the collarbones to the other side. And back as you dip the chin down and below. And then gently roll the base of the skull along the back of the shoulders and reverse the movement. So at this point, we've explored most of the planes around the neck. I invite you to close down the eyes and use any movement here that feels good for you, going on whatever path that feels right for you and your body. Rolling the neck in whatever direction, pausing where you need to pause, and allowing the breath to guide your movements. We're decompressing really that first and second vertebrae of the neck here, the part of the neck that's responsible for nodding the head and shaking the head. So just taking time here to explore this space in whatever way feels good for you. I invite you to take your hands and make a hammock, interlacing the fingers, and draw the hands at the back of the neck so that the palms squeeze the neck together, giving yourself a bit of massage. You can even use your thumbs here, pressing alongside the neck, those juicy tendons, alongside your spine, giving yourself a bit of a massage, releasing those muscles a little bit more. Taking time here, giving yourself a little bit of love, using your fingers here to massage all along the vertebrae. And of course, taking as much time as you need. You'll find that this place might be quite tense. In our modern day lives, we tend to compress these necks by looking at the screen like this, or hunched over, checking our phones or the keyboard. So really trying to lift up the base of the skull and massage the neck. And when you're ready, we'll make our way down onto our backs. So taking your block with you, propping it on any height that feels good for you, we're going to lay the base of the skull, this occipital ridge, the place where it begins to curve out from the neck, and place it along the edge of your block. Another way of gently massaging this area. So you can place the occipital ridge flat onto the block or using the edge. Just explore what works for you. And then gently swaying the head side to side, massaging all of that soft tissue. And if it feels good to pause in an area so that that is a little bit more of a targeted spot, go ahead and do that. And it's very easy to stay here for a long time, massaging the back of the head. So take as much time as you need. Come back to the video or pause it and we'll move on together. Once you're completed, you can move the block out of the way. And laying back down, little tuck of the chin so that the base of the skull lifts up out of the neck. And just allowing the spine to reset here. Now we're going to bring the hands into a hammock again, similar to how we found it earlier. And bringing the hands behind the head, supporting the head here, can gently tug the skull upwards as if we're lifting the skull out of the spine. You'll see the jaw soften and the chin come down towards the chest. And then gently laying the base of the skull down onto the mat. Notice any difference here. And coming back to that head hammock, what we'll do is begin to find our range here. So finding that little bit of a pull or tug, a little bit more space in the back of the neck. Now without really using the core, we're just simply finding that traction or decompression in the neck. You can begin to tug the skull upwards, maybe drawing the elbows in and allowing the chin to come towards the throat. Very gentle. We're not looking at all for our end range. We're looking for just space in the back of the neck. So there should be no pain here. I'm also not really using my core strength. I'm simply finding my natural range of movement here. Finding space in the back of the neck. Chin towards the chest. And lay the head gently back onto the mat, keeping that space there. Reset the spine. So this space here is what we talk about when we go into our bridge poses, making sure that there's no compression here, still keeping as much space as we can. So if you'd like to try to go into a few bridges now so that you can see what that space feels like, go ahead and do that. Keeping the feet about hip width apart, palms down if you'd like. You can begin to press through the soles of the feet, lifting up the hips, and the belly and ribs rise. Keeping that space so the chin is still slightly tucked in, crown of the head is pulling away from the shoulders. Shoulders are drawing down and pressing into the floor. And I still feel no strain on the back of the neck. If you ever feel any pinching, always come out of it gently and just give it another go if you feel like it. And coming out of bridge pose. Now we're going to begin to explore a little balancing along the back body as we begin to move into our shoulder stand. So I invite you to bring the right knee into the chest here. Give the knee a tug in towards the body and extend that left leg out long. And then begin to lift up the left leg. And now bring any free movement here with that extended leg. So moving it around. And what this is doing is bringing you back to a point of stability as you balance here on the back as the legs move around. And switch. So the reason we sort of want to feel this stability along the back body is because the shoulder stand means we're balancing on the upper back, upper shoulders. So as I lift up my leg and move it around, my hips lift up slightly, starting to explore that balance through the upper back. Keeping the shoulders pressed along the mat will help with that. And bring both knees in to tuck. And lower. Okay, we're going to move into a little bit of a tuck, an elevated tuck here. You can bring that block back if you'd like and place it flat-wise underneath the hips. From here, you can bring the knees into the body. And notice how you feel here. You still have space in the back of the neck. Chin slightly tucked. And if you'd like, you can bring the palms down onto the mat and press into the mat. Scrunch the belly in and see if you can lift up the hips. So this is a little bit more core activation as we draw the thighs up towards the chest, lifting up the hips. Using our forearms and palms as leverage here. Play around with that, noticing how you balance along the upper back. And then when you're ready, you can bring the hands towards the bum or the hip, cradling the hips here, and notice how it feels to support yourself, using the back of the arms and the elbows, and finding that center of gravity that requires little effort here, but you're just holding yourself up, tucking in, drawing the thighs towards the chest, and again, I still have space along the back of the neck. At any time you start to feel those shoulders start to creep up towards the ears or some compression in the neck, again, come out of it. And you can lower the hips down. So either starting from the block here or moving it away and starting from a flat back, we can begin to explore our shoulder stand. So here, find your little bit of a tuck, press into the palms, draw the thighs in towards the chest, keeping the chin tucked so that there's a lot of space. Bring the palms to the back of the hips here. You can bring the elbows in towards each other so that they're underneath the hips rather than splayed out to the side like this. And once you're ready, you can experiment with lifting up the knees, maybe lifting up one leg, lifting up the other leg, or just staying here and enjoying this variation. If you're feeling confident and feeling comfortable in the back of the neck, you can begin to bring both legs up and pull the hips forward as if they're going to move overhead. As the hips pull forward, the toes and ankles rise. I'm activating my legs here, squeezing my bum, tightening the thighs as the hips Draw forward. Again, I have no pressure here in the back of the neck. So staying here for as long as comfortable, this inversion. If you'd like to explore further, you can bring the knees towards the head and explore bringing the toe to the floor above the crown of the head. This is plow pose. Hips are still being lifted up away from the hands. And to come out of it, bending the knees. And you can return back into your shoulder stand or begin to curl in and gently roll the spine down onto the floor. So my hands slow down the hips as they move back down to the mat, and feet can rest. So oftentimes with shoulder stands, we do follow them with a bit of a heart opener. So you may like to move into fish pose, bringing the palms down by the hips and reclining onto the forearms. Elbows are under the shoulders, drawing together, legs are extended, and lifting up the chest, drawing the shoulders down towards the floor, and you can begin to look back behind, fish pose. This is not necessary, but it is pretty traditional to follow up a shoulder stand with some type of heart opener. You may like to just recline back on a block instead of fish pose, and that has similar benefits here. And so the throat stretches up overhead as you recline back onto a block, as the elbows and forearms rest down onto the ground. And ending our short shoulder stand practice, or perhaps you've added this on after a heart opening sequence, I recommend just allowing the body to rest on the floor, letting the spine reset, coming back to the breath as the body and mind integrate all those lessons learned. And in your own time, sealing your own practice. I like to do that with just a bit of gratitude. So just thanking yourself for moving in a creative way, listening to your body, and doing it with kindness. Thanks for joining this breakdown of shoulder stand. Namaste.